And remember this scene, Highway 34 in Thompson Canyon wiped out after the floods 3 years ago. Well, in just a few weeks, CDOT will begin permanent repairs, including blasting in the horseshoe area to get rid of a sharp curve, and eventually moving the road around Idlewild to bedrock, which will move 10,000 dump trucks worth of material.
That sounds easy. Joining us to talk about how easy that is Shailen Bhatt, the Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Transportation. And let's get to the important questions. How long am I going to have to sit in traffic because of this, and how long is it going to take?
So, we're always everybody's favorite person whenever traffic backs up because of a project, but this is a very important project. If you'll recall, there was a catastrophic flood in this area back in 1976, and then in 2013 we experienced catastrophic flooding again. 100 people had to be airlifted out. So rather than going back and putting the road back in place, we're actually looking at stream morphology, hydromorphology, and saying, let's understand what the river is going to do in a flood and not put the road back there so that it gets washed away again. So that's why there's all this blasting. It's actually 3 years of construction.
Wow.
So we're going to start the blasting, but we're being very sensitive to the important nature of this highway. So one, we're not going to do any weekend work this summer because lots of folks wanting to use 34,
sure,
get up there. And there's two different types of blasting that we're doing. So there's blasting that's off the road, in which case we will close the road during blasting, during specific windows, but it'll be open otherwise. After this summer, what we'll do is we're going to start doing blasting on the road. In that case, the only people who will be allowed to use that road are the residents who will have a special permit, and there will only be specific times. But we're hopeful that if people will bear with us, that we'll have a safer outcome at the end with a road that is much more resilient as we move forward.
So a 3-year project, so I can't even imagine what the price, what the cost is.
$129 million. And then that is something that we're expecting to go up. As not because of cost overruns, but because the more resiliency we can bake into this now means it's fewer dollars that we have to spend in the future. So we had originally received $450 million in emergency funding, thanks to our federal delegation, the U.S. Federal government, who had provided that to us. And so we're still out there looking for more funding sources, again, to bake more resiliency into this. Had we had this design back in 1976, we would not have had the catastrophic impacts, or as many catastrophic impacts now. So that's what we're designing for the future.
You were using terms I'd never heard before. It sounds like I'm in a geology class. But you really have to figure out, you're guessing where the next flood would happen and making sure the road is not in its way, and that's where you're building this?
So, and if I had a diagram, I could do it better, but, there's a stream bed. So in that curve, right, when the water comes down with a certain amount of head, a certain amount of velocity, it starts eating away at whatever's in its way. And if the roadway and the road bed in particular are in its way, it will scour that down until you get to bedrock. And so what we're saying is, let's get down to bedrock and put the road on the bedrock, so when it comes to scour, it might take away the asphalt, but the road bed will not be washed away, so it's a fairly simple return. And this is not something that we do as CDOT. This is not our expertise. This is actually a national model for resiliency now, where we're bringing in the stream experts, the hydrology experts, and saying, help us design this and build this back better, so the next time the river rises in anger, our road is better protected.
So the path, as we know it, for lack of a better word, will stay. It's just the higher. Is that what you're saying by going above bedrock?
No. So what I'm saying is that instead of being higher and putting more fill in, the fill is very vulnerable because the water comes down and looks for a weak point. The bedrock is bedrock, and so what we're trying to do is identify the places where we can get down to bedrock, or better protect any fill that we have that is holding up our roadbed, and that is the sort of the thinking behind this design.
Beyond this project, other projects drivers will see and be impacted by. Let's look at it from a driver's perspective. What am I going to have the most angst? Oh gosh, I'm seeing the orange signs again.
Where are those areas? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to do I'm always an optimistic person, so I'm going to do a bad news, good news here, right? So the bad news is it's construction season. And so, yes, we're doing construction. And one thing I do want to let viewers know about is next weekend, so not the 10th weekend, but the following weekend, 17th, whatever the exact days are, we're going to be closing Arapahoe Road at I-25.
Right.
We're going to be doing some bridge demolition work there. So I-25 should not be impacted, but Arapahoe Road is a pretty big artery, and we will have that interchange fully closed for Arapahoe Road next weekend to do some bridge demolition. Later this summer, we're going to start work from 120th up to I think E470 and Northwest Parkway, we're going to start on the new express lanes up there. So that's going to be some more work that we have going. And there's, that we're still working on a bridge replacement at Havana. I mean, it is just the time of year. That's sort of the bad news, that we are working on projects. I will say that from a good news perspective, US 6 is completed. So folks are driving through there without any construction impacts this year. US 36, we're substantially done with the construction. The peak period shoulder lane in the mountains, we don't have any construction up there, and there we're seeing drivers realizing the benefit. So yes, it causes some delays, and yes, it causes some impacts, but when we're done, traffic does tend to flow more smoothly.
Yeah, I guess my issue, which I know I didn't warn you about, but is Santa Fe getting onto I-25.
Yep.
It's backed up no matter what time of day, what time of night.
Yeah, so that is in the, so all of this is a function of engineering and money, right? So we can engineer anything, but we only have certain amounts of money. So Santa Fe is one of the fixes that we have identified, where we've moved a bottleneck now, right? So the bottleneck used to be further south, now it's moved back to Santa Fe. Again, I will tell you that we can fix Santa Fe, but I-25 in and of itself in the Denver metro area is at capacity. And so with all of these tens of thousands of people who are moving here, we're going to have a very robust discussion about what we want transportation to look like in the future, because capacity-wise, we're kind of maxed out on I-25.
Let's have that conversation, because lawmakers choose to wait to the last minute and then the bills die. So again, another legislative session wrapped up, no money for CDOT. How much closer are we to you asking voters, we need new tax money, or you're going to pay per mile that you drive?
Well, I think we're already at the point where we're saying you're paying with your time right now, and everybody is paying in what I would call an unintelligent fashion, right? So everybody gets to pay the price of not having an expanded roadway system. I will say that in the budget this year, that the SB 228 funding, we did get $200 million this year and $150 million next year. Now, in the context of our $1.5 billion budget, that's not a huge amount, but it's good. And it's a start, and it's encouraging. I think we heard a lot of conversations around folks. And look, it is not my role to go to the voters and say, vote for this. It is my role to say, here's what I can do with the money we have. Mm-hmm. Here's what we could do with more money that's out there. Again, I try to be optimistic.
Of course, you always want more money.
Well,
right?
I am not one who says that, we're the government, give us more money, and we'll put it all to good work. I will tell you that, and I'm a fiscal conservative social liberal. And so for me, this is not a question of we just need more money to throw at the problem. These are projects. These are projects that we know, just like the peak period shoulder lane in the mountains, just like US 36, where we can point to data afterwards and say travel time is improved. But it is a big ask, and there's a lot of other priorities, and so we're going to have to wait.
It sounds like it's a never-ending list as well. All right,
yes.
Dr. Bhatt, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.